All right, let's get right into it. We're going to unpack one of the most important reports out there for our planet's future, the International Energy Agency's World Energy Outlook. And trust me, it paints a picture of a massive, massive shift happening right now in how we power our entire world. So, let's dive in.
And the answer to that question is a resounding yes. That's exactly what the IEA is telling us. This isn't some far-off future prediction. No, this is a historic transformation that's already happening. The very foundations of the global energy system, they're being totally rewritten as we speak. So what we're going to do is break it all down. We'll look at the forces really driving this change, what's standing in the way, the big hurdles, and, what this completely new energy world could actually look like for you and me.
Okay, but before we look forward, we kind of have to understand where we've been. For more than a century, the story of energy was, well, it was pretty simple. It was a story written almost entirely by fossil fuels.
And this slide, wow, it just lays it all out, doesn't it? A tale of two eras. In the past, it was all about fossil fuels, coal, oil, gas, driven by pretty predictable demand from the world's big advanced economies. But the future? It's being shaped by completely different forces. We're talking clean technology, the incredible growth of emerging economies, and totally new centers of energy demand. This right here, this is the heart of the transformation.
So, what are these new forces exactly? Well, the report zeroes in on a few really powerful game changers that are just blowing up the old order and pushing this transition into high gear.
First up, and this is a big one, the economics have completely flipped on their head. Just look at this number, over 80%. In just one decade, the cost of solar panels and EV batteries has absolutely plummeted. This isn't just a small price drop, it's a total cost collapse. And what that means is clean energy is no longer just a green choice, it's a powerful economic competitor on the world stage.
Second, there's a new kid on the block, and it's a voracious consumer of energy. We're talking data centers and AI. The amount of money expected to be poured into this next year alone is just staggering. We're talking over $500 billion. This isn't just normal growth. This is a new kind of demand that is concentrated, it's intense, and it's growing at an absolutely explosive rate.
And this quote from the IEA just brilliantly puts that scale into perspective. For the first time ever, the money being invested in data centers is set to be more than the money being spent on global oil supply. Just let that sink in for a second. The infrastructure for our digital world is now attracting more cash than the fuel that literally powered the entire 20th century. That is a monumental shift.
And you can see this trend so clearly when you look at where new electricity demand is actually coming from. This chart shows that in the big economies, the US, China, the EU, a huge chunk of all new growth is coming from just two places: data centers and electric transport. These aren't just a part of the story of demand growth. In many ways, they are the story for the years to come.
But here's the thing. This future isn't set in stone, not by a long shot. And that's why the IEA uses different scenarios to map out these potential futures. It all depends on the policies and the choices we make starting today.
Right, and this is a really crucial point. These scenarios, they are not predictions. Think of them more like a tool, a big if-then exercise. If governments actually follow through on their current promises, then what happens? If they hit the accelerator and get more ambitious, what does that future look like? It's all about helping us understand the real-world consequences of our choices.
And wow, those consequences are huge. Just look at this table comparing two of the key scenarios. Under today's stated policies, what they call steps, we see fossil fuel demand kind of peak or plateau. But in the net zero scenario, the NZE, demand just falls off a cliff. And check out the oil price, a modest decrease in one future versus a complete collapse to around $25 a barrel in the other. This just goes to show you how dramatically policy can reshape our entire energy and economic reality.
Okay, but of course, a transition this historic, it's not going to be a walk in the park. The path to this new energy system is lined with some very real and very, very large obstacles.
So the report really flags four major hurdles. First, there's just a massive gap in the investment needed to make this happen. Second, our electric grids are getting totally jammed up, creating these serious bottlenecks. Third, we've got to figure out the supply chains for all the critical minerals that are basically the building blocks of this transition. And finally, for developing nations, the super high cost of borrowing money can be a complete deal breaker for these big clean energy projects. And to put that grid congestion problem into perspective, just look at this number. Right now, there are 2,800 gigawatts of solar and wind projects. I mean, these are fully planned, ready-to-go projects that are just sitting in line waiting for a connection to the grid. That is a colossal amount of clean power stuck in what's essentially a massive traffic jam.
And the IEA really highlights this money problem, especially in emerging economies. When it costs you twice as much to borrow money as it does in an advanced economy, it becomes incredibly difficult, almost impossible to build those big, capital-intensive projects, like solar farms or wind turbines, the very things this transition depends on. So, what happens when you put all of this together? You've got the cheap tech, the brand new demand drivers, all these different policy paths, and these huge hurdles. What do you get? Well, you get a complete and total redrawing of the global energy map.
This timeline is absolutely fascinating. It shows the geographic center of gravity for renewable energy. So, 50 years ago, it was centered over Latin America, mostly thanks to Brazil's hydropower. Fast forward to today, and it's shifted way over towards Europe, with China and India growing like crazy. But by 2050, it moves decisively to Asia. China and India become the undisputed leaders of the renewables world. It's a complete shift.
And that is why all of this matters so much. You know, this isn't just about swapping out one technology for another. This shift is fundamentally rewriting the rulebook on everything, from energy security to economic influence to pure geopolitical power. It changes who's on top and what it even means to be an energy superpower in the 21st century.
You know, the old map of the world was drawn with oil, gas, and coal. This new map, it's being drawn with solar panels, wind turbines, critical minerals, and massive electricity grids. So, the final question the report really leaves us with is a big one. As this new map is drawn, who is going to hold the power?